ngwana hao tshwara ngwana hao sesi tshwara ngwana hao rena re tlo mtshwara o nkotla ra o wela fela ra o pusha re isa go wateng like ha re itsenya ngwana hao ha ka wa mo kitaba tsa hao o make sure o mo tshwere pila wena ka re kwa hao ha ka re mo dirile le loshi. Hi there, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a story time as I do a protective style on my hair. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm taking these braids out right now and then I'm going to try and do something. I don't know what at the moment. So far I've just sprayed some warm water on my hair, just plain warm water, and I've already done a lock method I think yesterday. So today I'm just going to be putting this, also having the curl defining leave-in balm. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing a story time telling you guys about my birth story from 20 months ago. Please excuse the sound, the meal sounds that you hear. We now have cats in the house, so I'm struggling to get used to that sound, but yeah, I hope you guys get used to it. But anyway, so I'm gonna be doing my hair whilst telling you guys the story. I'm sipping on some, it's halfway done. It's iced coffee. Yeah, it is some iced coffee. I think I'm actually getting addicted to this stuff, but anyway, that's not the reason why we're here. If you are not new to this channel, thank you so much for coming right back. I really appreciate your time watching my videos, and if you are new, if you enjoyed my channel, please don't forget to click the subscribe button so you can be notified every time I post another video. Anyway, without much being said, let's get into the video. I did, I think, mention in a video before that I gave birth at Stefika Hospital. That is in Pretoria. It's a public hospital. It's one of the pretty good hospitals, I would honestly say, because I dreaded giving birth at Tshwane Hospital. I was very fortunate with the fact that I was having a C-section and I was in a list of emergencies. I had to go to Stefika instead. And I had this really beautiful doctor. I had this really amazing black female doctor who explained every single thing to us, who explained every single thing to me, to both me and my husband. She was like, she gave us all the details of everything that was going to happen, how it was going to be done, and we even discussed my C-section, how it was going to go about, because I've had a cut before for my myomectomy surgery. So anyway, she took all of that into consideration, bless her soul. So I remember going in and she was like giving us the details about how I was going to give birth and everything, explaining the C-section to us. And she was like, okay, listen, I've checked her out. I can see you have had a myomectomy surgery and you have a horizontal line that was cut. So it's not a vertical line. So she decided, you know what, you're still young. You probably want to wear bikinis and all of that stuff. So I'm not going to cut you. I'm not going to give you like a vertical cut, which is what they are now apparently now giving in hospitals if you're having a C-section. So she was like, oh, we're not going to do that because you're still young. You probably want to show off your stomach and all of that stuff and when you're bouncing back. So instead, we're going to do a horizontal line, but we're actually going to cut the incision exactly right where your previous incision is. So they're going to reopen the same place where I've had the myomectomy surgery done before. And I was cool with that because that means less scars, right? So yeah, she was pretty good. She explained everything to us. I remember when I was about to give birth, well, obviously I was scheduled to say, okay, on this day, this and this and this, you're gonna give birth on this day, we're gonna cut you open on this day. And so I go in the hospital the day before, and it being public hospitals, they're like, oh, we have no beds, blah 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 blah, and you should go home. You can come back the next day very early for your delivery time. And my delivery time was set for 12 noon. But anyway, as I was at the hospital, like I kept having pains the day before my delivery was expected. I kept having these weird cramps and all of that stuff. And then I didn't inform the nurses, and they informed the doctor, and she was like, okay, because of the history, let's just give her a bed, let her stay the night, and then we see what happens. And overnight, my pains just got worse and worse and worse. And the doctor that was on duty that night, which was not the doctor that was scheduled to deliver my baby, he checked me out and he was like, listen, I think the pains that you're having is actually contractions, and you're not supposed to have contractions because this is per your date is early. The date that we've scheduled for you is early, so you're not supposed to be having contractions. But when we put you on the machine, I think it's called the ECG machine, I was seemingly having contractions and I was in a lot of pain. So the doctor was like, do you think you can hold it? I was like, of course I can. I wanted my husband to be a part of it. But as the night went on, you guys, the pain got worse and worse and worse. And then the doctors came back and said, you know what, I think you should rather call your husband and tell him that he needs to be here first thing tomorrow morning, because you're going to be one of the first patients to go into the C-section, which was, it's I think 5 a.m., I can't remember correctly, but yeah, I think it was about 5 a.m. So I did call my husband. I was like, listen, dude, it's no longer 12. Your ass needs to be here by 6 a.m., like before even, so that you don't miss this. And if you miss this, me and you is not going to be talking no more. So anyway, we get to the next morning. Your girl is trying so hard to hold this baby in. My time comes up. I'm rushed off to the theater. My husband is not there. I am freaking out. Because I have this thing that of course I want him to be a part of this, but I've heard so much about public hospitals. I don't want to give birth alone and then have my baby swapped, or be told that my baby died or whatever, and yet my baby didn't die and was given over to somebody else. So I had all these fears like going on in my head, and I was so angry that my husband is not there. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I get to the theater, he comes in. So apparently he went to the ward and they were like, oh, Miss Hella's already gone, you can go meet her over on the other side. And so he came that side, and then I had and then it all started. Like, I had my anesthetist done, which I am the worst at that kind of stuff, because it takes me a pretty while for that stuff to work. But anyway, you probably hear that in my other story time. That's a whole different story one. But anyway, so they do that. I get all numb after a little while. Hubby's sitting right next to me, and then I gave birth very beautifully. I honestly commend that doctor. Like, she was the most amazing doctor I've ever had. She was really beautiful in everything that she did, and she kept on asking me, Miss Hella, are you okay? Are you fine? Are you sure you're numb now? Are you sure you're not feeling anything? To a point where I was like, just get it over and done with. But yeah, like, I really did appreciate her patience and everything, and wanting to explain everything to us. Then we got to a point where the anesthetist was working, and it was time for baby girl to come. Right. I could feel something came out. Right, and that was my daughter. When I gave birth, I could feel like a force. Like, it felt like something just got pulled out of me, and that was her. But what was weird for me was something came out of me, and then there was complete silence in the room. I'm expecting a baby's cry, and I hear complete silence, and I'm like, my worst fear just came true. My baby's dead. And for a little while there, I start hearing cry. And so for a little while there, I start hearing Kaale sisi, Kaale ntombi, and I'm like, okay, so she's alive. She's just not crying. Okay, thank God. And then the next thing I heard was Hachu, and it was a sneeze. So I was like, okay. My mother once told me sneezing is a sign of life. Because, long story, but my mother also was almost thrown away when she was a child because she was too small, and they were like, oh, she's not gonna survive and all of that stuff, blah blah blah. And then she sneezed, and the elders were like, that's a sign of life, bring her back. So when I heard my daughter sneeze, it was my biggest sign, like my biggest relief. Like, I felt relieved. It's like, she's alive. And then they brought her to me after they cleaned her up a little bit. They brought her to me, and they're like, oh, okay, meet your daughter. I remember looking at the hair, which there wasn't any. And then they took her back to clean her up, and my husband was keeping a good eye on her because that's why he was there. I had asked him to make sure everything goes well and that he watches everything, that my daughter does not get exchanged or anything like that. But anyway, I gave birth, everything is good, then I get wheeled out of theater and the horror stops. So after I get wheeled out of theater, you guys, you go into this waiting area, very open, very exposing. I get wheeled out there, the nurse is there, don't give a crap about you. This one nurse that was cleaning up Kamandla brought her to me, and she was like, okay, here's your daughter, she's very clean, this is how you can try and hold her whilst you're laying on the bed. So she tries to help me, show me how to hold Kamandla whilst I'm laying down, and she was really sweet. And then she goes, and then this really evil woman comes through. I don't even know whether to call her this or not. She was really rude, guys. So she comes through to me and she's like, obelehile. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, you're going back to the ward. I'm like, yeah, I believe so. Sorry guys about that. The struggles of a mother. Now somebody's awake from a nap and I need to carry on with this video. She wants to breastfeed, so I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna have to do both. I'm a woman, right? We can multitask. Oh God, between this and these cats, just climbing all over my legs and just disturbing me, it's okay, it's crazy. But anyway, so this nurse comes up, right, and she's like, obelehile. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, you're on the way to back to the ward. And I'm like, I believe so. And she's like, oh, and she's like, like, ha ka wa mo kitaba tsa hao o make sure o mo tshwere pila wena ka re kwa hao ha ka re mo direle le loshi. I'm just like, okay, it's real. It's like a real thing. This happens in public hospitals, and I did nothing to this woman. I've never met this woman before. It's my first time meeting this woman. Like, what was so hard to just say, please hold your baby nicely, like kopela tshware ngwana hao pila, and then I'll push her no re go buisetsa wedding. Like, what was so difficult? Why did she have to be mean about the whole thing? And anyway, I'm just like, okay, do not respond, Tanya, do not respond. Guys, it took a lot. It took a lot. It took a lot for me to not respond. Like, it legit took a lot. But I think it was also because I'm coming from theater. I've had all these drugs and everything, and I have my daughter. Like, I don't need this fight right now. So I just ignored her, and then I held on to my baby, and then I got to the ward. When I got to the ward, there was this young student nurse who seemed very sweet, but then at the same time, she was not alone. She was with the veteran. She was with the veteran nurse. She was with, hey man, get off. How can you guys climb now? Bloody hell, these kittens are climbing onto this couch. Like, how? Anyway, So this student nurse was not alone. She was with the veteran nurse. She was with the big guns. So this girl was so nice. She was like, "Oh, congratulations, your daughter is pretty," and all of that stuff. Even though she wasn't pretty, she had all the stuff that she was covered with. But okay, thank you. This veteran nurse is just like, "Mpeto hawa shu, samoroba, samon naman mpeto nga hao, and uskabi mo no fast, uskabi mo no fast, utharma na hao, utharma na hao, kami fast. As a responsibility ring, runyagala mpeto ngwana, like right now, mara kopela unele ngwana hao mo mpeto nga hao." So you guys can imagine, my daughter's like right here, right? She's like right on top of me, right here, and I have, obviously, I've had the C-section. And I look at this nurse and I'm like, I looked at the student nurse and I'm like, get your class, like I'm about to get sick. And she wants to run to get me that little container thingy that you get sick into. And that nurse is just like, how what? So this like nobody gets sick after theater. Okay. So I'm just feeling this and nothing's gonna happen. I'm like, dude, I'm about to throw up. Like, legit, I'm about to throw up. Can you help me? Like, I can't move my arm. I don't know why I couldn't move my arm, but I was like, I can't move my arm. Can you help me take my daughter? Because it seems like the only way for me to go is this side. Because on the other side, there's like another woman with a daughter in that little bed thingy, the baby's beds. And it's literally right next to my bed. So if I go this way, chances are I'm going to throw up on that baby. And if I go this way, chances are I'm going to throw up on my baby. So the easiest one for you to move, because you're right next to me, please move my daughter. And that veterinarian was just like, don't touch the babies. As she was talking, I don't know where this power just came from, but I suddenly just grabbed my daughter with my other arm. That was my left arm, yeah, my left hand. I just grabbed my daughter and pushed her over to this side, and I went for that wall. I was the first one on this side, and I went for that wall, and I was just throwing up. It was just fluids, because remember, I didn't eat the night before, and I was just throwing up fluids, and I was like, I'm not feeling right. And they came up to me, they're like, nah, nothing should be doing this. I don't know why you're doing this and whatever not. You just want attention. And I'm like, did you guys give me this specific type of pills? And she looked at the file and realized they gave me pills that I was not supposed to have. And that's what was making me throw up. But anyway, that part goes past. So that was like my first one. Of like, first I had to throw my daughter on me, and secondly I had to shove her over to the other side just so that I can like release myself. And so that goes past, and then this nurse comes up to check my daughter, and Amanda was sleeping in the bath. Remember when I say when she was born she didn't even want to cry? Amanda never cried as a baby. So whenever the nurses came, they wanted her awake, and she would refuse to wake up. I would have to wake Amanda for like 20 minutes, just shoving her and pushing her and trying to just grab her attention, put the breast in her mouth. But she would even sometimes just suck it while she's asleep. She would not want to wake up. And then there was a point where the nurses were like lifting her and throwing her on the bed, lifting her and throwing her on the bed. Remember, their beds are like a little bit hard. And I remember Amanda's dad going angry, and I was like, just leave, dude, just go out, let them do this and finish. And then, because I also didn't understand like why my daughter was not waking up, because I was very scared that she could sleep like this and never wake up. So I was like, okay, do what you have to do, because I believed you know better. So you do what you have to do so that my daughter wakes up. So anyway, they kept doing this. I think they did this until we even left the hospital. Like, Amanda was just difficult when it came to waking her up. But yeah, like a day went by. The second day went by. So they checked Amanda and they were like, Amanda's fine, good to go. You, on the other hand, and I'm like, me what? They're like, you haven't pooped, so you can't go home until you poop. And I asked for, I can't remember the name of the tablet, but there's this tablet that you put on your bum, and that helps you to poop. And I asked for that, and they wouldn't give me. And it got to a point where I had to be like, okay, when the nurses are sleeping, because God knows they sleep, when they're sleeping, I'm gonna go to their little medication trailer thingy, and then I'm just gonna take that pill for myself and then use it. So I did that, and then the next morning I of course pooped, and then I informed the doctors, and they're like, okay, you're good to go. But like I think an hour after that, when he said you're good to go, and then they waited, I was obviously waiting for discharge thingies and all of that stuff, and then I noticed something, to which I called the nurses, and I'm like, is this normal? And the nurse didn't even give it much look, and she was just like, yeah, it's normal. And I'm like, no, I think this child has jaundice because the eyes are yellow. And she's like, oh, your daughter is always sleeping. How did you even see that? You're just making things up. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen. Whenever she does wake up, she wakes up and I'm the first person to see her, right? So as I'm telling you, I saw this and this and this. This child, high chances are she has jaundice. And I'm not having her discharged before somebody actually sees it. And remember, we discharged, right? We're just waiting for the discharge letter, and she brings the discharge letter, and I'm like, I'm not taking it. I'm not signing that. I want to see a doctor. I want a doctor to look at my daughter. I want a pediatrician to say this child does not have jaundice and send my child home safe. I didn't know that was about to turn into a drama. So it became an argument between me and the nurses, and the other nurses saying, yeah, hela una no rena wa controller. Hela una no rena wa itsuru wi rang, and rena re bereka byang ka mo, and ra mmotsa yena o fetsobeleha o tlo re botsa ka jaundice. Gale re bona jaundice. And I'm like, okay, I understand gale re bona jaundice, but can I just have someone to look at my child, a professional, and tell me this is not it? So the pediatrician comes. I forcefully open Amanda's eyes because she was just like, oh, she's sleeping. I can't get her to wake up, so I guess I can't check. I'm like, you're going to check today. So I forced Amanda to wake up, and I opened her eyes, and she could see that the eyes were a little bit yellow. And so she was like, okay, we have to do blood tests just to be sure, but this means that you can't be discharged today. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I can't be in a rush to go home and probably risk my daughter. We go to the room where she's going to take the blood samples and everything, and her mistake, first of all, was taking me in there with her, but at the same time, it was not a mistake. It was actually pretty good that I went in there, because then God knows what would have happened if I was not there. So for kids, they don't just easily take the blood test because kids apparently don't have visible veins like us. So she started poking on her wrist with a needle and hoping for some blood to come out, which after a little while, blood started flowing out. And instead of her taking her sample immediately at that time, do you know what this woman went and did? Her phone rang, and this woman went and answered her phone call. You can imagine my frustration, right? She went and she answered a phone call, and it turns out it was about another patient. So this was the point where she was supposed to have been taking the blood from my daughter's hand, the blood which is gushing out, after she poked it to gush out, and she's not taking it. And then when she finishes with her phone call, I'm holding on to my daughter, right? When she finishes her phone call, she comes back and the blood has stopped gushing out. And she's like, oh, I've missed that opportunity. We have to do another one. And I'm like, excuse you? She's like, yeah, we have to poke her again for more blood to come out. We have to try a different hand so that we get this thing. And I'm like, breathe, Tanya, breathe. At this point, I'm like, okay, I really want to know whether or not my daughter has jaundice. But at the same time, this seems painful, and this woman is ignorant. Like, the way she's doing the whole thing is like, already I'm against it. But anyway, we go ahead, and I'm like, okay, one more try. So she goes ahead. This one's lights out again. So she goes ahead and she goes for the second hand, and she pokes her needles like on the inner side. You guys. This woman pokes my daughter's hands, and then her phone rings again. Do you know what she does? She answers it. This is a second hand. So in my head, okay, you're gonna answer that call, and then the blood is gonna stop, and then you're gonna wanna do this again the third time. So I took a damn phone and I shoved it over the wall. I don't know where I was gonna get money to buy that iPhone. God forbid had its screen cracked or something, but thank God it didn't. But yeah, I took the phone, shoved it against the wall, and I was like, you stop right now. This child is just as important as your other patients. You are gonna take priority in this child right now. Like, you are gonna take her blood samples now that the blood is gushing out. This is me talking, right? And I'm angry as shit. I'm talking, I'm holding my daughter's hand, I'm taking the blood samples myself, and I'm like, you are going to treat this child like any one of your other patients, any one of your other important patients. You are not going to keep poking my child and not taking the blood, and you want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. It stops now. At this point, I'm crying because my daughter is crying. And I can just imagine the pain that she's in, and this woman is just like here playing. And anyway, nurses come rushing because they can hear the back and forth between me and this doctor. And she's telling me about a patient. I'm like, screw your patients. There's other doctors in this hospital. You're not the only doctor. And right now, you're also busy with another patient. So I would suggest that you take priority in this one right now. And then when you're done with her, you can go over to your other patients. Take these blood samples and go. And the nurses come in. They're like, yeah, Miss Helen, you're not even supposed to be in here. I'm like, well, I'm here. She brought me in here and I'm here now. And thank God I'm here, because this would have been happening to my daughter. And the next thing, I just have my daughter with scars everywhere because you guys are failing to do your job properly. Anyway, she takes the blood samples, they go, I go back to the ward, and I'm like crying my head out. Like, that was the first time, you guys, since I gave birth. That was 3 days later. That was the first time I had a mother cry. That was like the first time she cried. And she was crying. Yo. But anyway, then we went back to the ward and we waited for the results. They came in the same evening and they were like, yeah, it's jaundice, but thank God it wasn't at its worst, so I could still go home with her and just keep her by the sun, and she didn't have to go into that incubator with the light and everything. So it was hell, you guys. My birth story was just, me giving birth was just the worst thing. And I remember from the first day that I gave birth, breastfeeding was the worst thing. Breastfeeding was the worst thing because I had to breastfeed from one breast and my other breast was swollen with milk, and I forgot what that's called when that happens to your other breast. But yeah, I was going through that. I had to learn to breastfeed, but I was breastfeeding from one breast and my nipple was hurting, and it was just a whole mess. It was just a whole mess, but that's a story for another story time. But anyway, yeah, this was what happened to me giving birth in a public hospital. But at the same time, I honestly would say Steve Biko is one of the best hospitals to give birth in. I don't know how it's like for those that give birth naturally. I just know my experience giving birth via C-section. But yeah, that's like about it. And I'm not sure where I'm gonna give birth to my second child. I'm not even sure if I want to give birth anytime soon. I know I want a baby in like a year or two, but Guys, when I think about what I went through, yo, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm done with my hair. I just decided to go for the 2 lines, the 2 straight cornrows, and this is it. I think this can last me a day or 2 days, hopefully 3, without me messing with my hair again. Because it's lockdown, I can't even get anyone to do my hair. I can't even get my friend to do my hair. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my story time. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to click that like button, and don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't, so you can watch other videos when I post them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I love you.